Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third episode of the MonkeyCast. I am Aaron Holbrook.
I am Max Brandeis.
And we have our special guest today,
Sarah Morgan.
Okay, so let's start off this one with an update on our Indiegogo campaign. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we have a campaign going through the website indiegogo.com to basically help our balance sheet. This will give us some of the funds that we need to get started and to work our way towards getting our store reopened. We are planning on reopening in the Tumwater, Washington area and opening a gaming store of, I don't want to use a cliche, but let's just say larger than average proportions. Right now, that Indiegogo campaign is at $725 donated, which we are very grateful for, out of our $50,000 goal. That puts us at about 1.5% donated, roughly 98.5% to go. So, if you have not had a chance to take a look at our campaign, go ahead and jump on over to that page. It is at igg.me/@/HOFM, and that'll bounce you straight to it. You'll be able to take a look at our first video, which is they call our promo video or our pitch video. Right now, we are also having a contest for when we hit $1,500 on that donations. As soon as we hit $1,500, we will randomly give away a McFarlane's Series 1 Berserker Dragon, still in the box, in pretty good condition, donated to us just so that we can give it away to somebody, which is kind of nice. Today, one of the main subjects that we're going to cover is females in hobby gaming, actually in all gaming. And throughout this conversation, I'll refer to females as girls or women. Really, there's no distinction there in my mind because I'm simply referring to the female gender. I'm not trying to offend anybody that considers themselves more of a woman than a girl or vice versa, so please don't take offense to it. That's part of the reason that we brought Sarah in, because she's a real live female gamer. I think you still have a pulse, right?
Yes, alive. Yes, okay. Female.
I was making an assumption. If there's something that I don't know from knowing you the last 20-something years, then I'm really slow.
But more importantly, yes, a gamer.
And you are really slow.
I am not really slow. I'm just a little... You've been talking to my mom again. I told you not to listen to her. She'll corrupt your innocent ways.
If I don't listen to her, she'll kill me.
That's a good point. She will kill you. So, Max and I were having a discussion last week about what draws girls into gaming. And Max had some ideas, which I'll let you voice, Max, because they're your ideas.
In some of my research for the business plan, it said most girls are being drawn into gaming now that smartphones are so popular and all small games, you can download them with microtransactions on your smartphone. They'll play a lot more games, like you can play The Sims, SimCity, almost any type of game on your iPhone, Galaxy, or the new Windows phone. And through that, it has drawn in a lot more of the high school, college women into gaming. And a lot more games are being more geared towards less hardcore gamers and more for the general public, which has also brought in a lot more women.
Yeah, when it's a little less intimidating to get started, I imagine that they're a little bit more eager to jump in.
The themes aren't so heavy in a lot of the mobile device games as some of our very classic games had dragons and evil and wizards and spells, and now mobile devices, it's I can grow flowers.
And that's how we get you hooked.
Well,
and then before
I
you
was
know
already
it,
hooked.
Then before you know it, the girl is telling you how best to play Skyrim and defeat the dragons and kill the giants, and
yes,
and then you're in trouble because you got to do what she says.
I've killed lots of dragons in Skyrim.
Do you not like fighting dragons?
I don't have $60 to drop on a new game every month.
It's probably less than 60 by now.
By now, yes. I don't have any money to drop on an extra game. Ever. I have to wait for holidays to get them as presents. So, definitely video games are a good way for girls to get started in gaming. And then I think that once they've kind of broken through that initial barrier, it's a lot more comfortable to get into the rest of gaming and spread out. You know, they don't necessarily stay focused on one aspect. Does that sound about right, Sarah?
I think it sounds about right for what's going on nowadays.
Right.
My introduction to gaming happened a lot of years before cell phones played games.
Let's just say pre-2000, right?
A long time ago.
We won't
A long time
put down
ago.
dates. We're not saying any specific dates yet, because that way you and I don't seem as old. Shut up,
Right.
Max. When you're looking at a game, I think that guys and girls look for different aspects of it. Sarah, like you were talking about, that a lot of girls look for a lighter version of a game. They don't necessarily look for a super deep storyline. Whereas if we can lure people in with a light storyline and then they find out that it's actually like 47 hours of gameplay, then the game companies win.
Only 47?
I'm talking, you know,
Light games.
Light
We're
games.
talking, we're not talking.
Light games.
We're
Not
not
talking-
talking epics.
We're not talking Final Fantasy that are 137 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, and this is my theory, which you can totally shoot down, that girls look for a whole lot less of the fast action and killing and slaying and smashing than guys do. Not that they don't like smashing and killing.
Like I said, I have killed a lot of dragons in Skyrim. Not always because the storyline told me to.
Sort of like those zombies we killed in our campaign that we didn't really need
Right,
to kill.
that you just smashed through.
Now, the hard part here
Your
is
wife started it.
that having been a gamer for such a long time, it's hard for me to speak for people who are just discovering the concept of playing games for wasting time and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have played a lot of games that were 100-hour games, video games. I've played tabletop games. I've done the card games. I've done the dice games.
But I'd say definitely newer games like Angry Birds, any of the casino games, The Sims, games like that. I know my sister, who is definitely not a gamer, has played, and that's led her to buy a Wii, an Xbox 360,
Okay.
and go into console and video games, which go back to the Super Nintendo.
Right.
There were no games really that would entice a...
When they made games for girls, they made them for 10-year-old girls.
Right.
And actually, somebody posted up a thing the other day where there was a display in, I think it was a Blockbuster, that said games for girls, and it was all like Barbie and seriously,
Hannah Montana.
yeah, it was
Yes.
that. It was those types of games, and this was posted by a female gamer, and she was really offended.
Yes,
She's
I
like-
hate that.
She's like, "Why isn't this on there? Why isn't Assassin's Creed on there? Why isn't this on there? Why isn't that on there? Because these are the games that I play."
Right.
And it's one of those things where there's those stereotypes in mind that even in tabletop role-playing or in card games, that girls are going to play a certain way and that girls are going to do things in a certain method.
Interesting point. You think pretty dress me up video games, and that describes, and I think a lot of companies think that'll attract women, but I have friends, brothers even, that really like the dress me up princess parts of the games, and they'll spend hours customizing their characters to make them look pretty.
Isn't that what Skyrim was? Was
I have no idea.
basically a dress-me-up pretty game for boys?
No. Actually, we're talking about Doug and Owen, where they can repaint all their armor.
I know. I know who you were talking about when you said brothers. I wasn't going to mention their names, but that's not getting edited out. But no, I've had friends that have referred to games like Skyrim where you can customize your character as just that. It's a dress-up game for boys because you can spend 15 hours customizing your character to look exactly how you want it to. And while we're not necessarily going for the pretty look, unless we want to be ridiculous, it's
You're going for an individual look.
exactly. Well, we want our guys to look badass and stuff, you know, with like skulls and blood face paint,
Yeah.
which I hear is cool. I don't know. Every time I wear it, I get arrested. But that's just beside the point. So, what's it like to be so outnumbered as a girl gamer? I mean, when you walk into a hobby gaming store, let alone a video game store, I mean, in a video game store, you've got a lot more females in there. It's not an uncommon thing.
Video game stores are not a territory that we need to conquer anymore. The staff is very helpful. They know that you will ask for what you're looking for, and they can make the recommendations after you've said you like a certain thing. They're not usually going to say, "Oh, you're a girl. Here's a Barbie game."
Well, and you know, only about half the time will they ask what you're buying for your boyfriend.
Right. The game stores where they sell magic cards and Dungeons and Dragons books, that's still sort of iffy territory, and it kind of depends on how many women are in their community that go to the store.
Right.
You can have really great experiences, and you can have some really downer times where it's like, no, really, I know what I'm talking about. I would like to purchase something here.
And I mean, I've seen it in stores where as soon as the door opens, the room goes silent because someone who has a lower testosterone count just walked in the door.
They're very used to it being a boys' club.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not realize it until a female shows up, that it's a boys' club until then. But yeah, it's kind of creepy when that happens.
And we had that happen with the first incarnation of the House of Flying Monkeys, where we had a small group of regulars. I think there was 10 or 12 people that regularly came in when we first acquired the store.
I would say 7 or 8. But
and
yeah, very small.
And girls started coming in the store because we were starting to carry more than just magic cards and some dice. We were starting to carry the role-playing books that people wanted. We were starting to carry more dice, more accessories, and more games. And the first couple of times it happened, we had that scenario, the curtain of silence fell, and nobody said a word until they knew what this strange creature that walked in was. And by the time that we ended up having to close, it was a very regular occurrence that we'd have, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but 2 or 3 girls in it at the same time.
We definitely developed 2, 3, 4 regulars. Some dropped in and out over time, but we had regulars who would come in, and it became a very standard, normal thing, and no more of that silence when they came in.
No, and we had some that came to our store specifically because they didn't get the "what are you looking for your boyfriend" type of treatment, which was really nice. It's good to know that we had that sort of rapport with our customers, and we had the reputation of being a good store in that regard. I think that one of the big things that a lot of female gamers, both in video games and hobby gaming, are trying to break out of now is the stereotypes of what makes up a female gamer.
It's everything. And I don't think that there's a good division. I don't think there's a way you can break her away from other females. We like these things, but I don't feel comfortable saying all female gamers are gonna like killing dragons, because they're not going to. And in certain ways, we are different from girls who read girly magazines and want to spend all of their time doing their hair, but that doesn't mean that those girls don't also want to become gamers or have the opportunity to become gamers, and it's just part of what they do in their not gaming time is slightly more feminine activities.
Well, and I think it's true, I mean, both with male and female gamers. It's not necessarily that there's a difference between male and female gamers any more than there's a difference between the way that Max games and the way that I game. Because it's just a different person that's doing the gaming. I think that the big division there is between gamers and the rest of the world. Because as the culture that gamers are putting forth, whether it's video games or role-playing or cards or minis, we're all a little different. And we're a little different from each other. I mean, just in this room, there's 3 people sitting here, and I bet every single one of us plays any given game a different way. And that's the draw of our hobby, is that we can do it however we want to do it. And I think that what we need to do is get rid of the female gamer stereotype or the male gamer stereotype, and if nothing else, push for just a general gamer stereotype.
It is very nice to be included in a general gamer stereotype instead of just the female gamer stereotype. But we've been around for a lot of years, and we've been fighting very hard to be taken seriously as gamers, not as, I'm a female gamer, I want My Little Ponies.
Right. Well, and it's all about the fact that just a lot of the guys in the hobby need to realize that girls are just as smart as them, usually smarter, and just as competent at playing and being successful at the games as they are. They just need to be given a fair shot.
A good introduction can make or break whether that person is going to be a gamer, either gender. If you have a bad first experience, you're gonna not want to stick it through. Right.
Well, and the same can be said for male gamers too. When you have a beginning 14-year-old who walks into a gaming store trying to find out, who else plays Magic, and all the guys in the store gang up and, in the game beat him down,
Right.
then he doesn't want to play anymore. And that's going to happen whether it's a boy gamer or a girl gamer.
Right.
So it's all about being able to share the hobby, I think. And so that, we can all get along and we can all enjoy the things that we want to do.
But it's also been my experience that for that example, if it's Magic and it's somebody who's just started out and they play and they don't do as well as they were hoping for, usually the community will sit down and say, okay, this is what you did wrong.
Right.
This is what you need in your deck. It's a little bit about competition, but it's also about if you want to be better, you want the people you're playing against to be better too. That's
right.
how everybody gets better. So
Exactly.
you help each other out.
I was going to say that's what you hope in a game store, but I know it's not always true.
No, and I've seen it happen more than once where, losing is one thing, but having somebody trounce you, laugh at you, and then walk away is, it's poor sportsmanship on any level.
Right.
And when we see that happen, that's what really hurts our hobby, because it doesn't make new players want to stay with the hobby. And if we don't have new players and new blood, whether they're male or female,
right.
then the hobby suffers. And so it's something that, I think that we all need to work towards being better towards new players in general. Now, as the games evolve, is there anything that pops out to you that you would like to see happen in gaming that really hasn't, that appeals to your feminine side?
Not that I can think of. I don't play games to do my feminine side most of the time. It's when I'm playing, if it's a role-playing game, I'm not going, oh, I want my character to fall in love and live happily ever after. I'm usually the one who's like, charge, kill him.
Yeah, that's in role-playing games.
That's in role-playing
No, yeah,
games.
no, totally not in life.
No.
So, something else that happened is a couple of weeks ago, Max and I were playing some 2nd edition AD&D, which, for those of you who remember THAC0, is a much different animal than even 3.5, let alone 4.0.
Yes.
And Max and I were both remarking that the feel of that older game, where it relied a whole lot more on the storytelling and role-playing aspect than, oh, look, I get to kill stuff now, was something that you don't see in a whole lot of games anymore. There's, specific abilities that are just 100% for role-playing. They serve no other purpose besides the RP aspect of it. And one of the things that I noticed is that takes a lot of pressure off of a game master for the newer games. It makes it a little bit so that people are more likely to run a game because all they got to do is throw monsters at you and let you kill them. But I think that and this is my opinion, you guys are welcome to cut me off and tell me I'm an idiot after I say what I'm going to say. But I think that it is a detriment to the gaming community as a whole and to the games, because they're not doing themselves the justice that they can, and they're not being as creative as they can.
I would agree. You're saying the newer games are a little too bland. They don't let you role play as much as the older games, or aren't built for it as much.
Exactly, and that was a big complaint that I've heard about 4th edition.
And that was one of my major complaints about 4th edition. It felt a lot like I was just playing an MMO with my cards, and I'd use this ability, flip the card over, and then it would recharge. And it felt a lot more like playing an MMO, whereas, again, with 2nd edition, it does tend towards storytelling and a lot more role-playing. I think that can somewhat, if you have a really good storyteller, they can make up for it in 4th edition.
Mm-hmm. But
I think the storyteller and the ability to tell a story becomes much more important.
I agree. It's the object of a role-playing game is to take on your character. And in some instances, like we're playing Scion currently, and in the newer White Wolf stuff, they've removed some of the more detailed aspects of it when it comes to actually building your character, where you don't have to worry about resources as much. And that gives you a little bit more freedom. But you can still...
There's a certain amount that they said, okay, people have always stressed about having enough dots here to cover, which is essentially not a thing that comes up in the game often enough to have to devote all of this time that you spend in character creation to it. So they said, don't worry about it. We want you to focus on the character and what the character can do, not how big his wallet is. Let's assume he has enough money to eat and have a place to live. And these are things that are not what this game is about. This game is not about the day-to-day survival. This game is about the fact that you can pick up a Metrobus and throw it at somebody if they make you mad.
Right.
That's another good point is with Scion. I felt the little I played and limited I read of Vampire the Masquerade back when I was in high school, where resources was something that was important. In that game, you were trying to survive and hide yourself, and you needed money to buy things and do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, well, in that game, you had to buy your weapons and whatnot.
Right.
Whereas in Scion, the axe my character carries was given to me by my god father. And so I didn't have to spend any money on that, and there's my weapon. Probably won't ever have to replace it.
Right. Well, and I think that the way that our GM is handling it, our ST is handling it, or storyteller, for those of you who aren't hip with the acronyms yet, the way that Mike is handling it is make your character background. So your character maybe doesn't have a whole bunch of money, but you got enough to get by every day. Then it's not an issue. Maybe you don't have enough to buy this exotic weapon that you really want, but maybe one of your party members does because they wrote their background a little bit more carefully. You know, and it basically all comes down to being able to role play your character out as opposed to being able to allocate the correct amount of dots to resources.
Right. There's a certain bonus for a player's creativity, whereas instead of having 3 dots of resources, you have charisma and athletics, and you go to a bar and you bet somebody and you role play it out.
Right.
Now you have enough cash to buy a round of drinks for everybody at the bar. It's not you always have the money. Do something. Okay, it's covered now.
Right. Instead of, well, my background is that I put 3 dots in resources.
I'm Bruce Wayne. I can buy anything.
I've had those characters. They're fun.
They are fun.
What I did like about Scion, though, is it was designed to reward people for good creative role-playing with the bonus experience or dice that the storyteller can give you.
Right.
If you do a flourish or if you do a good job explaining something that's so creative that they go, oh, you did that so well, here's some extra dice or an XP.
Right.
So it really lends well to people trying to role play their characters instead of just saying, I swing my axe or I turn the question on that guy and I want the answer.
Right. Well, and the stunt dice are definitely handy. It's better than, like you said, it's better than just saying, I attack the zombie. You can say, well, I throw my axe at the zombie, then I jump up in the air and call my axe back.
And slam it back down on the zombie.
And look like a total freaking awesome dude instead of, I smash him in the face. And so...
Or I walk up and I hit him.
Yeah. The extra creativity is always good, and the fact that the game rewards it or gives the game master rules to be able to reward it is awesome. Also, we were talking about the way that technology is making it to where people from halfway across the world can play with each other. In a role-playing game, this sentence is not getting better.
No.
Where multiple people from different geographic regions can engage each other in a role-playing game. There's no way to make this sound good. But in a way that is better than the old FTP message boards that you got wrangled in with.
Yeah, when my first experience with role-playing games, it wasn't a message board, but it was kind of a fancier version of Messenger. But it was...
I would say a less fancy version.
Messenger, you have to know the people for them to be on your list.
Good
and
point.
This one, you didn't have to know the people for everyone to be able to talk to each other. But yes, basically, it was you go to what they called them, rooms, and you chatted with people, and that's all it was. It was the very beginning of the internet, and it was a really long time ago, but that's how I got introduced to role-playing. And now the technology for people to connect this way is you can do it on your cell phone.
I was going to say, my high school friends played a game, a role-playing game, and we downloaded a dungeon builder, and our storyteller could set up the story. We'd move little digital representations of our characters, and it allowed us to chat. We got on one of the many voice talking softwares that you can download onto a computer, and we played that game for about 3 or 4 months before many of us started to wane off and quit. We are, however, thinking of bringing that back up, and I'm going to run for them Inquisitor.
Oh, cool.
that should be a lot of fun, and I need to talk to some of the other people who are out of state about that. But it definitely allowed the storyteller to set up large maps and areas and prep for it, and it gave you a very good visualization of what was going on and where things were at. You do lose some of the imagination, because I know when I play, especially at our game on Tuesdays, we don't have a table and a mat and draw out where things are. It's more abstract, and you sort of imagine, and I know how I was picturing the graveyard was probably different than how you were picturing it,
right?
How Mike was picturing it, but it definitely adds to the game, because you're very immersed and it's in your mind and all that.
Yay for tiny apartments that don't have the space for an actual table.
Right, but at my other game, we have a table, and we, especially when we were playing Pathfinder, we drew it all out. Our characters were there.
Right.
And it does take away a little bit of the imagination and how you imagine the area. But both ways are fine. I liked the table with the map and the pieces on it. But online is definitely even a little bit less imagination, because I can draw out what the dungeon looks like exactly, and what statues are there and whatnot. And
as a storyteller, the hardest part for me has always been people want to know how far away something is. You tell them you're in a dark corridor, and they want to know how far apart the walls are, and I'm like, this far, because I don't think in numbers that way, but I think in settings, and if the hallway needs to be cramped and dark, I'm not going to measure it out. It's 7 paces wide.
Walk that way, I'll tell you when you hit a wall.
Oh, roll. Oh, that's how much damage you took because you walked into a wall of spikes. You really should have had your hand out.
Perhaps if you had a flashlight, you would be able to tell.
It's dark, you can't tell. But how far away is the end of the corridor? It's dark.
Is it within range of me to shoot? I don't know.
I shoot magic missile into the darkness.
You know, I remember doing that before it was trendy.
Before they put it on a t-shirt.
Before anybody even recorded it. I remember when that broadcast initially came out. That was hilarious.
Still funny. Not as funny.
It's not as funny because you've heard it 150,000 times.
But still funny.
And we used it in the pitch video, so I shouldn't really talk down about it.
Yeah, there you go. And who wrote that script? Oh, that was you.
I did write that script because that's what I do. I write scripts, and then we don't have locations to shoot at. As many of you know, we are on our drive to 100 likes on the House of Flying Monkeys Facebook page. We are at 74 likes currently. We got about 26 to go. Well, we have exactly 26 to go for those who are not math impaired and haven't had a long freaking day. So
I like math.
Math is not my friend.
Math is my friend, but I usually...
Apparently not right now.
No, I don't know what it is. I think it's just today my brain's a little dead. I was alone and by myself for most of the day, so that usually makes me just a little bit more insane than usual and a little less cohesive. When we hit 100 likes, we're going to be doing another drawing like we did when we got to 50.
Not to be confused with our $1,500 giveaway.
Right. This is not the dragon giveaway. This will be something different that we are trying to be creative and original and slightly secretive about. So we will be giving out some free stuff when we hit 100. So if you have already liked the House of Flying Monkeys Facebook page, then
get your friends
cool.
to like it.
Go get your friends to like it. And if you threatened them with bodily harm, we couldn't stop you. And while I won't directly tell anyone to hack their friend's Facebook account because that would be a violation of terms of service.
However, if they leave the window open, that's not hacking. That's just helping them out.
I won't tell you not to do it. I think is the best way for me to put that. But definitely promote that page for us. It's much appreciated. Also, when you find a post of ours that you like, go ahead and share it if you're not too scared to share it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because sharing it definitely helps. It helps our demographic a lot.
Yes.
And by helping our demographic, if we ever have the necessity to go get a loan, we'll be able to use that as a way to illustrate that we have got a good, solid following. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to our MonkeyCast. Once again, I am Aaron Holbrook.
I am Max Brandeis.
And
Sarah Morgan.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.